About yourself might seem like an easy win of an interview question. After all, you know all about yourself. And good thing too, because it's often the very first thing an interviewer is going to ask you to do.
But responding to this invitation to talk about yourself in the context of a job interview can feel stressful and complicated.
In this video, we will tell you why interviewers ask this question, a few common variations of "Tell me about yourself," how to answer this question, 6 more tips for answering, and we'll also give some example answers for "Tell me about yourself."
Why interviewers ask you to tell me about yourself?
As with any interview question, the key to crafting an impressive answer is understanding why people are asking in the first place. Often when the conversation starts, it's a lot of small talk, and it's a way to transition into it, especially for the less seasoned recruiters or hiring managers. The interviewee is nervous, but the interviewer is trying to get their bearings too. This interview question is also a great starting point that can help inform the direction of the interview. It's a great opportunity to demonstrate that you can communicate clearly and effectively, connect with and react to other humans, and present yourself professionally.
They are looking not only for indications that you are qualified to do the work, but that you will gel with the team and the company culture.
A few common variations of "Tell me about yourself." There are plenty of times when you'll hear these exact words, "Tell me about yourself." But interviewers might have their own versions of the prompt that are asking pretty much the same thing, including,
I have your resume in front of me, but tell me about yourself. Walk me through your resume. I'd love to hear more about your journey. Tell me a little bit more about your background. How to answer the "Tell me about yourself" interview question.
Use the present, past, future formula. If it feels daunting to generate an answer from scratch, you can rely on a simple formula to construct your answer. The present, past, future formula is a way to share key background points while ending on a high note. Begin with a brief overview of where you are now, which could include your current job along with a reference to a personal hobby or passion. Reference how you got to where you are. Here you could mention education or an important experience such as a past job, internship or volunteer experience. And finish by touching on a goal for the future.
Bonus points if you're able to identify how the position you're applying for aligns with how you envision your future. A simple and effective formula for structuring your response: present, past, future.
This isn't the only way to build your response, of course, and you can tweak it as you see fit. If there's a particularly potent story about what brought you into this field, for example, you might decide to start with that past story and then get into what you're doing in the present. Whatever you pick, make sure you ultimately tie it to the job and company. A good place to end it is to give a transition of, "This is why I'm here."
You want to be absolutely certain your interviewer is left with the impression that makes sense that you're sitting here talking to me about this role. So here are 6 more tips for answering "Tell me about yourself."
Okay, so you've got an interview coming up, and you know it's probably going to start with some form of "Tell me about yourself." Here's what else you need to do to nail your answer.
Number 1. Remember, this is often your first impression, and it matters. We really only have one chance to make one first impression.
Most hiring decisions are made in the first minute, which includes your greeting, handshake, eye contact, and the first thing you say, which may very well be your response to "Tell me about yourself." Even if the powers that be aren't making an irreversible determination shortly after the conversation begins, a first impression can color the rest of the interview. If you have to spend the rest of the time making up for a bad opening, you're in a very different position than if you give a succinct, confident, and relevant answer right off the bat. Be prepared for this question and show interviewers that you've prepared for it. The confidence that comes across in this is a really good place to start from.
Number 2. Tailor your answer to the role and company.
When an interviewer asks that, they really mean "Tell me about yourself," as it's relevant to the position you're applying for at the company. They're giving you an opportunity to articulate succinctly why you have the right qualifications.
This is the best chance to be very direct and share your objective, but your objective needs to fulfill their goals. So when you are in the middle of a job search, looking for a particular type of role, you might have a basic template you use for every interview, but make sure to tweak it to fit the company. This is an opportunity to show them right away that you get it.
Number 3, know your audience. As with any interview question, or conversation for that matter, you want to make sure you understand who you're talking to. You might get some form of "tell me about yourself" at every single stage of the interview process for a job, from the phone screen right through to the final round. But that doesn't mean you have to answer the exact same way every time. If you're speaking to a recruiter who's not immersed in the hard skills of the team you'd be joining, you might keep your answer more focused on the bigger picture. Whereas when you speak to your prospective boss, you might get a bit more technical. If you're talking to a C-level executive as part of your final round, it's probably smart to touch on how you can help achieve the overall mission of the company they run.
You can also enhance your answer and make it more specific to the role and company based on what you learn as you progress through the interview process.
As you know by now, this question carries an invisible addendum as it's relevant to the role and company, so you're best off keeping your answer professional.
Number 5. Speak with passion. Keeping your answer professional, however, shouldn't stop you from shedding light on why you're passionate about your work or about this company, even if that enters slightly more personal territory. You don't have to go into a huge amount of detail, but your goal in the interview is to stand out among the applicant pool and be memorable. Then infusing this answer with some passion can help you do that.
Number 6. Practice, 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 but stop short of memorizing. You don't want to wait until you get this question in a live interview to try out your answer for the first time. Think through what you want to convey about yourself ahead of each interview and practice saying it out loud. Record your answer, and then waiting an hour or more before you listen to it gives yourself some distance and perspective. When you finally play it back, see if the answer sounds solid and credible to you. If you can, go beyond practicing solo. It always helps to practice with other people to hear yourself say it and hear feedback from how other people are interpreting what you're saying.
Asking a trusted colleague, friend, or family member to listen and react to your answer will help you hone it. Practice will surely make your answer stronger and help you become more confident giving it. However, against memorizing and reciting your word for word, so there's a fine balance between practicing and memorizing. It needs to come off as very authentic. So here are some tell me about yourself sample answers.
Example answer for someone looking for a similar role at a new company. Sure, so I've always enjoyed writing and public speaking, even as far back as high school. This led me to pursue writing-related passions. For example, in college, where I was an editor for our school newspaper. In addition to writing, I got to learn how to manage a team and how to approach the writing process. After college, I took a job at Acme as a social media manager, writing copy and social content for the company blog, but I raised my hand to work on the communications plan for a product launch, which is where I discovered my interest in product marketing. After switching to a product marketing role and managing the 2 most successful new product launches last year, I realized I'm excited to take on a new opportunity. I've learned I work best on products that I love and use, and given that I'm a big user of your company's products, I jumped at the chance to apply when I saw the open posting.
So here you can answer for someone transitioning from an agency to an in-house role. Well, I'm currently an account executive at X company, where I handle our top performing clients. Before that, I worked at an agency where I was on 3 different major national healthcare brands. And while I really enjoyed the work that I did, I love the chance to dig in much deeper with one specific healthcare company, which is why I'm so excited about this company with X Health Center.
Example answer to tell me about yourself for someone pivoting into a similar role in a new industry. I've been in the marketing industry for over 5 years, primarily working in account and project management roles. I most recently worked as a senior PM for a large tech company managing large marketing campaigns and overseeing other project managers. And now I'm looking to expand my experience across different industries, particularly fintech, which is why I'm so interested in joining an agency like yours.
Another example, but tell me about yourself for a recent graduate. So tell me about yourself. Oh, absolutely. I graduated from Harvard in May with a major in computer science and a minor in theater arts, and have been spending this summer interning at a theater nonprofit. I've had the chance to put my coding skills to good use by helping revamp the organization's ticket sales page. Since it launched 2 weeks ago, the time it takes patrons to get through the purchasing process has decreased by 43%, and the scores on the pop-up satisfaction survey had gone by nearly 20%. It's been particularly exciting to be immersed in this environment because I've been in love with theater since I did my first school play in the 7th grade. It was 13. The musical and I landed the role of practice and even led the Harvard Players my senior year. This internship experience had only reinforced my desire to merge my CS skills with my passion for theater, which is why I knew I had to apply as soon as I saw the junior web developer role here.
Here's an example answer for a career changer. I spent the first decade of my career working in account management for SaaS startups, selling B2B software, including my current company, which develops remote collaboration tools. And for the last couple of years, I've been managing 3 to 5 direct reports. I found people management incredibly fulfilling and have been especially drawn to training and professional development. One of the accomplishments I'm proudest of in my job now was creating a series of upskilling workshops, not just for my own team, but for the entire revenue organization. Account managers and sales reps who participated showed an average increase of 22% in sales or renewal revenue per quarter. Looking back, it makes so much sense that I've gravitated in this direction, considering I tutored and led workshops for the comms department in college. As I've thought about my next steps, I realized I wanted to transition into an HR role so that I can focus all of my energy on creating and implementing training programs. I can't think of a better place to start than at a company that makes software I've relied on in multiple previous jobs. What is your greatest strength may seem like one of the easier job interview questions you'll be asked, but for many candidates it can be tricky. Either they're too modest in their response, or they don't highlight those strengths that most closely match the job requirements. Today we will teach you how to answer interview questions about your strengths, examples of the best answers, and what not to say when you respond.
So what is your greatest strength?
That sounds like an easy question, right? I answer, it's time management, and wait for the interviewer to move on to the next question. Except they don't. They just keep sitting there, as if expecting more from your answer. You freeze. What did I do wrong? I answered the question, didn't I?
Yes, you did, but not in the right way. There's a lot more to this simple interview question than it seems. The main reason interviewers ask this question is to identify whether your strengths align with the needs of the company and the job's responsibilities. The company wants to learn whether you are a good fit for the role you are interviewing for. The goal of the interviewer is to make a match between your resume and the skills needed to succeed in the job. Your response will help the employer decide whether or not you're the strongest application for this position. If you're applying for an accounting job, it's not helpful to highlight that your strength lies in event organization.
Here's a tip. When you're asked questions about your strengths, discuss attributes that will best qualify you for the specific job and set you apart from the other candidates. They want to know if you know your own strengths. They want to know if you're realistic. They want to know if your strengths are relevant for the job. While answering, the HR manager is going to expect examples from you. So to answer correctly, you need to convey the above 3 points in your answer and provide a real-life, relevant example of the strength in action.
You can prepare the question by, first, list your skills that match those the employer is seeking. This listing can include education or training, soft skills, hard skills, or past work experiences. Number 2, narrow down your list of skills to 3 to 5 particularly strong skills. Number 3, next to each skill, note an example of how you've applied the strength in the past.
Here's what a real-life example of that might look like. My biggest strength is that I can think on my feet and can work under a lot of pressure. As an event manager at Company X, we were organizing an IT conference that needed a number of last-minute changes due to a speaker cancelling because of an emergency and 2 of our volunteers not being able to show up. So we allocated more time to each speaker and added a Q&A section at the end of each speech. We also encouraged the present speakers to talk about their business and personal experience more in depth after they were done with their speech. As for being understaffed, one day before the conference, I reached out to my network and found 2 students who were willing to help out. I personally met them 2 hours before the conference and got them up to speed with everything we were doing for the day and gave them their tasks. In the end, everything went well without any other problems popping up.
Here's another example. My greatest strength is attention to detail. I've always been detail-oriented in my work, and it's something that I enjoy. I saw on your job description that this role involves a lot of detail-oriented work, which is one reason I applied. In my last job, I was frequently required to manage 8 to 10 client projects at a time, and often have 75 different tasks going on in those different projects. Being detail-oriented allowed me to deliver 100% of my projects on time to our clients. In fact, I finished 45 of my assigned projects ahead of schedule. The more specific your example is, the better.
Make sure you also give some background and context if necessary, and explain how and why you made the decisions. You want to make sure your example paints you in a positive light, but also so that you're not showing off. It's a good idea to think about your strengths and examples before you go to the interview.
So, sit down, list out what you think your top strengths are, and come up with relative examples. If you're applying for different type of positions, make sure that your strengths you're going to mention are relevant.
What not to say. This is not the time to be humble. While you don't want to exaggerate your strengths, you should be comfortable articulating what makes you an ideal candidate. On the other hand, you do not want to answer with a laundry list of vague strengths, and neither do you want to seem boastful or arrogant.
So let's wrap up. Before we say goodbye, let's quickly go through everything we've learned in this video. For each position you're applying for, think of your top 2 to 3 strengths that are going to help you excel. We recommend doing the thinking before you even go to the interview. When answering, mention that your top strengths are, provide examples on how you've used them in the past, and finally, describe the results you've gotten. Be super specific with your answers. Don't just say, I'm good at X. Really dive deep and give your interviewer a comprehensive answer.
What's the best way to talk about weaknesses at job interviews? Talking about things that you don't excel at can be tricky, especially when you're interviewing for a new job.
Are you supposed to deny that you have one? Or go all confession time on recruiters and share your most genuine weakness?
The answer is neither. What you do is you turn the situation to your advantage by framing your weaknesses positively.
And no, we don't mean saying I'm a perfectionist or some similar nonsense. So in this video, we're going to share
why do interviewers ask this question, how do you answer this question, and we'll also share some example answers and skills you can mention as weaknesses in an interview. When you're asked about your weaknesses, the employer wants to know whether you're qualified to do the job. The hiring manager is also looking for indicators that show you've been able to learn new tasks and handle new challenges. So this question is an opportunity to show that you've got the right assets for the job.
how to answer what's your greatest weakness.
You can mention skills that aren't critical for the job, discuss skills that you have improved on, or turn a negative into a positive. Even though the question is about weaknesses, Your answer should always be framed around the positive aspects of your skills and abilities as an employee.
So option 1. Discuss non-essential skills.
One approach to answering this question is to analyze the key skills and strengths required for the position that you're interviewing for, and then come up with an honest shortcoming that is not essential to success for that job.
For example, if you're applying for a nursing job, you might share that you are not particularly adept at conducting group presentations. In this case, it will be critical to underscore your strengths in one-to-one communication with patients while providing an example of your difficulty with presentations to large groups. Likewise, if you're applying for a position as a writer, you could focus on the skill that isn't required for the job, as in the example below.
Example answer. Numbers have not always been my strong suit. Fortunately, as a copywriter, I can focus most of my time on the creative process of writing. However, in recent years, I have begun to familiarize myself with the digital analytics tools used in the various websites and apps I write for, and have found that when you add context, numbers can actually be quite enlightening.
Option 2. You can use lack of experience. This one's usually a really good answer if you're a recent university graduate or if you're switching careers. For example, let's say that you're a recent college graduate applying for a job as a graphic designer. You can say that your lack of experience with certain software because you've practiced on a different one. In such a case, if you ask what's your greatest weakness, you can answer like this.
I'm not experienced with the latest version of Adobe Illustrator because I practiced my skills using CorelDRAW. However, considering they are both design software, I think I could learn how to use Adobe in no time. Or like this. I'm not experienced in analyzing large amounts of financial data because I have yet to properly practice the financial literary skills I acquired at university. I'm confident I will get the hang of it as soon as I get first-hand work experience.
Option 3. Multitasking. Multitasking might not be as great as you think. Yes, our increasingly busy lifestyles can sometimes trick us into thinking multitasking is amazing. But recent studies show multitasking can seriously harm work performance. It makes you more likely to make mistakes at work, less efficient with tasks, and overall really hurts your productivity. Hence, you can easily use multitasking as an answer to this question. Here's how you'd reply to your interviewers.
My weakness? I multitask too much. I first noticed it was an issue in my last job. I was too distracted, and tackling 2 or 3 tasks at once ruined my productivity. I've been minding how I work ever since, and I make sure to always define and prioritize all my tasks. Then, instead of juggling 3 at the same time, I tried to go through them one by one.
By now, you should really understand this is not really about the weakness, but about the way you present the weakness and the steps you're taking to improve on it. If you're truthful and proactive about your weakness, it shows that you're the type of person who shows drive and initiative. Both must-have skills for a lot of employers. Having said this, you can take a look at the list below of soft skills that you can mention as weakness to get you thinking on what your weakness is.
Creativity, task delegation, humor, spontaneity, organization, impatience, taking on risks, and creative writing. Now, tips for giving the best response. Prepare a response. It can be easier to respond when you have an idea of what you want to say. Be honest. It's important that your answer be authentic and tailored to your own circumstances. Of all the questions that you are likely to be asked in an interview, this is not one where you want to risk coming across as disingenuous. Turn a negative into a positive. Frame your response in a positive manner so that whatever you portrayed as needing improvement is seen as an accomplishment rather than a weakness.
An authentic answer goes a long way. That's why the best solution is to identify your real weaknesses and take proactive measures to address them.
What motivates you? The interviewer is looking for insight into why and how you are motivated to achieve goals and succeed at the job. The hiring manager will also be seeking to discover whether the factors that motivate you are aligned with the company's goals and with the role in which you would be working.
By answering in an honest but thoughtful way, you can impress your interviewer and demonstrate that you are the right person for the job. interviewers want to know?
In asking this question, interviewers hope to figure out what makes you tick and what drives you to succeed. They also want to determine whether your motivators will be a fit for the job's duties and the company's culture. For the hiring manager, it's important to learn whether your motivators align with the job's responsibilities. If you're motivated by a challenging workplace, for example, you may not be the best fit for a routine data entry job. Providing insight into the forces that motivate you at work can be a window into your personality and work style, thereby helping your interviewers understand you as both a person and a potential employee. There's a big difference between the candidate who's motivated by building teams and establishing strong relationships with co-workers, and the candidate whose best day is working independently on a report that improves the company's bottom line. Both candidates bring with them strong advantages, and this question can help interviewers narrow their pool down to the individual who is the best fit for the position and the company.
How interviewers ask about motivation?
Your interviewer can frame the question of what motivates you in several ways, including what makes you who you are, what are you most passionate about, or what makes you tick. These questions give you a chance to talk about your motivations, and there is no right or wrong way to answer. The following are some questions you can ask yourself to figure out your answer.
When to talk about your job and why you love it? What stories do you tell? What was your best day on the job? And what made that day outstanding? What do you think that's a particular job is the one that you've been dreaming about? What days or periods do you love coming to work and why?
Here are a few tips to help you prepare and to answer the question of what motivates you. Conduct extensive research. It's good to start by reading the job description a few times to understand the role. This enables you to prepare an answer that shows your capability to handle the job's duties. For instance, in a job description where the employer requires a proactive team player, you can say that your motivation comes from completing projects successfully with others. You can also research the company's goals, mission, and vision to know if you can align your answers with them. For example, if the company is a non-profit, you can say that one of your motivations is making a difference. Have an anecdote ready. It's usually helpful to prove how your motivation has helped you in past work situations by providing an anecdote. Ideally, it should be a work-related anecdote, but it may be a personal anecdote, if it adequately demonstrates your motivation in a relevant way. To avoid getting stuck on the day of the interview, prepare the anecdote beforehand.
It can be hard to think of a good answer for this question on the spot, since it requires a bit of self-reflection. To prepare your answer, think about the jobs you have held in the past. What happened during your best days? When were you most looking forward to the day at the office? When did you come home from work bursting with stories and feeling enthusiastic and excited?
Whether it was a successful meeting with a client, a complex project wrangled into submission, a new skill you mastered, or anything else, keep these positive moments in mind when conceptualizing your answer.
Here's an example. I've really driven by results. I like it when I have a concrete goal to meet and enough time to figure out a strong strategy for accomplishing it. At my last job, our yearly goals were very aggressive, but I worked with my manager and the rest of my team to figure out a month-by-month strategy for meeting the year-end numbers. It was a real thrill to accomplish that.
Why it works. This response works well because it's focused on achievements and results. It's positive and it shows where the candidate has accomplished. Another example, I was responsible for several projects where I directed development teams and implemented repeatable processes. The teams achieved 100% on-time delivery of software products. I was motivated both by the challenge of finishing the projects ahead of schedule and by managing the teams that achieved our goals.
Why it works. This response shows the interviewer that the applicant is motivated by several factors: management, scheduling, and teamwork, and has the ability to multitask. Another example, I've always been motivated by the desire to meet a deadline. Setting and reaching deadlines give me a sense of accomplishment. I love creating an organized schedule for completing a task and achieving my goals on time. For example, When I ran a fundraising event last year, I set multiple deadlines for a variety of tasks leading up to the event. Achieving each milestone motivated me to keep working and helped me to ensure the event ran smoothly.
Why it works. It always makes sense to respond in a way that shows you're motivated by your work and by accomplishing goals.
Tips for giving the best response. Number 1. Ensure your answers are relevant.
Interviewers have specific reasons for setting the questions they ask you during an interview. This means that you have to answer in a manner that shows you're suitable for the position. You should avoid banter and jokes that steer you away from your focal point. Number 2. Back up your claims with examples. Real-life examples of how you have used your motivation in the past can help you substantiate your statements. By providing examples, the employer is better able to judge your abilities and motivations.
Number 3. Incorporate your personality. You can do this by mentioning things such as your hobbies, your help to depict the person you are. However, you need to relate the answers to professional situations. For example, you can say you're a leader of a volunteer organization and love to coaching others to build teams. Or you can say that your hobby is competing in marathons because you love overcoming daunting tasks and challenges to grow.
Number 4. Remain careful and concise. Be careful with your wording while remaining enthusiastic and open. Avoid careless answers that don't align with the company, industry, or position you're working to get in. Remain economical with your answers. Avoid making assumptions based on the interviewer's behavior. Just because your interviewer maintains a cordial smile and nods throughout does not mean that you can start using casual jokes here and there.
And remember to have a specific answer. Offer concrete answers and tell the interviewers everything they need to know about you at the moment. Be specific to the point and measure factors that will convince them you are the best candidate. Also, the last one is show confidence.
You might feel like the interviewer is your adversary as they sit on the other side of the table and maintain a serious glance. However, maintain your confidence as interviewers hope to find the best candidate, and this implies they are giving you a chance. Being confident as you talk about your motivations can show them you are the right person for the job and earn you the position. Thank you for watching. We hope you found this video helpful. What motivates you? Leave your answer in a comment below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe.
如果你喜欢我们的视频的话，请记得点赞、订阅，点开旁边的小铃铛。那我们下期再见吧，拜拜。
Bye.